I mean, it seems kind of stupid that they treat Fi as a person in the Sacred Grove. Mm-hmm. I mean, you would think she's technically an object. So, the way it should work is she, if anything, would be just a singular key to opening the door to the Sacred Grove.
Well, the statues are the key, not what the statues have, I mean.
I suppose. Which means that to open the Sacred Grove, you would need people from different times.
No, not necessarily.
Well, it's impossible to reach Fi from Skyloft after, you know, Twilight Princess and all that.
But Sheik is the one who undoes the spell for the both of them. Just because she knows something about it.
But Fi needs to be there, doesn't she?
No. None of the people who are here need to be here.
So they just need anybody who knows magic, so why can't Lana just do it all herself?
Well, because Lana's busy with other things. I mean, it's the same way that if you had a magical lock for something, you would need somebody magical or magically adept to undo it.
Call the locksmith!
I mean, they're literally only got these things, the images here for the characters in the game because they're in the game. It has nothing to really do with the scenario.
Yeah. Which I was saying that the story was kind of meh because of it, and then you were arguing about how it's still better than Skyward Sword, and then I argued that you didn't know that much about Skyward Sword.
Well, it doesn't matter.
There's another Lana here! She's an imposter!
It would have to... They'd have to go back and change everything if they're going to make Skyward Sword the original first game and canon.
The canon for the beginning of... But if they just made it as like a backstory, a prequel to the first Zelda games, then is it really so
Yeah,
hard
because
to
it
believe?
wouldn't work.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's disagreeing with what was already set in place.
Sure it is.
In what way?
What do you mean in what way?
Well, I'm asking for an elaboration.
Well, basically everything about the game is wrong, if that's the case. Because the magic sword existed in the first game, and I believe the second game.
Nobody likes the second game.
Yeah. Either way, it was still there.
What are we waiting for? I thought they should have been at these points by now.
Something's slowing one of them down.
Oh, Midna's out here fighting everybody again because she won't go inside unless everything's gone.
But yeah, so the sword, basically everything to do with that is wrong.
Well, maybe Fi was the magic sword.
No, she wasn't. There was nothing to do with Fi at all. Or the Highland goddess. The goddesses
Oh yeah, because you
just
pointed out that
referred
the
to
magic sword, or was it the white sword, you go and talk to the man who smithed it anyway.
Yeah, the magic sword.
Daruda's dancing around because he's all happy. Look at him.
Also, I think Fi would have had some insight in every game that she would have been in, because she's the spirit of the Master Sword, right?
She is the basis for the Master Sword. She's probably lost her consciousness.
You think something that remained so powerful over all of that time had lost its consciousness? That doesn't make too much sense.
From what I understand, I mean, I only watched through Skyward Sword once. I didn't play through it because you did not want anything to do with it. But, she went back into the goddess's temple in Skyloft, and that is where, you know, she is still. Mm-hmm. So, at any point in any of the other games where they can't get the goddess's sword, she's probably up there. I don't know if she is the basis of the Master Sword, or if the Bane of...
But then wouldn't they have some access to Skyloft in Twilight Princess, where you go into the Sky Temple? and fight the dragon of Twilight. I mean, seriously.
Well, I don't know what those two things have in common. I don't know if the Sky Temple and Skyloft have anything to do with each other.
Well, it's a big floating place in the sky. I'm pretty sure it would have been noticed. And yet it's not mentioned anywhere else. Nothing from that game is mentioned in any of the ones after it because they decided to remake the game. Or the game's story, rather.
Yeah.
Which means, for that to have made sense, they'd have to go back and remake every Zelda over again.
But wouldn't they just be making the game and just altering its story slightly?
Mm-hmm.
So,
not slightly, dramatically, with everything else that went on.
Well, then they'd just be making a new game, and they might as well just continue the storyline with,
But it's not continuation. That's what's wrong with making something canon that's not well after everything else has been set in place.
Oh, yeah, the Dark Lawn. I forgot about her. I feel as though because the Legend of Zelda games all have such a large difference of time between them that it can be gotten away with.
I don't believe that's the case because there are way too many oversights that would have been different.
There we go. Statues have awoken.
I mean, it's just the same like they do that with any other game. I hate when they try to redo the origin stories for games or movies in that, for that matter.
Yeah. The temple door is open. Please excuse our trespassers.
When they remade Devil May Cry.
DMC?
Yeah. That was just appallingly stupid.
You can't call Devil May Cry DMC anymore. You have to specify now by calling one Devil May Cry and the other one DMC.
Whatever. Either way, I feel just as much about that one as I do Skyward Sword. And, like, Lament of Innocence.
I thought you liked Lament of Innocence.
Nobody liked DMC either. You know there are two of these places. Why are we both at the same one?
Oh. Well, this one was just closer.
No, it wasn't. They're the same length from each other.
Well, excuse me, Impa.
You're excused. Now get the hell out of my base.
Die, thingy.
But yeah, so that's my problem with Skyward Sword.
What would you do if, or how would you feel if, Legend of Zelda Wii U were going to be a remake of the original Legend of Zelda? And add a story into it.
What do you mean? It had a story before.
It didn't really have much of a story.
Do any of them pass the,
Yes, some of them do have a story.
The standard idea?
They have, you know, plots and whatnot.
Yeah, save Hyrule from the darkness that is Ganon.
Well, it can be a little more complicated than that
but
if you pay attention to it.
But that's generally the same thing in all of them.
Well, that is the core. Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, so then the core in which the story was based on was the story for the original one. You can't say that's a bad thing or a bad story.
Well, it's the same for everything.
Come open this chest.
Me?
Yes.
Where?
In the place I told you to get out of.
Why do I need to go open it? You're first player.
It's an item for you.
Oh.
This happened last time, too. Not this stage last time, but last time in general.
What is it, a weapon?
I don't know. Probably a heart piece. Or a heart container.
You got heart beats.
A heart piece. They tell you before you accept the stage. But yeah.
Yeah, in the first one there wasn't much elaboration on anything. It's just go here, do this, and then the NPCs will talk to you once in a while.
Okay, isn't that the same for most games?
Well, at least
especially
in,
games that were made almost 30 years ago.
I guess. I don't know. I don't have too much experience with games 30 years ago.
I said almost.
The mummy thing's almost dead.
Yeah, I killed it.
I killed it.
Well, the screen says otherwise.
Well, the screen's wrong. I mean, you could argue that the way the games fit together is still not canon, even though
I agree.
that Nintendo itself released the Hyrule Historia to release what they felt was the most acceptable form of the games linking up together.
I see what you did there.
Huh. But
Wasn't funny.
because it wasn't originally intended to be all in the same universe, they were just intended to be sequels of the same game. I mean, the first two, Link's Awakening was supposed to be... Was it Link's Awakening? It was Link's Adventure? The Adventure of Link.
Mm-hmm.
That one was supposed to be a direct sequel,
It
but then A
was.
Link to the Past did its own thing. I mean, it's pretty acceptable that they're all within the same universe. Except, at one point, like in Hyrule Historia, they just all branch off.
Yeah, well, I don't really care for that.
So you...
I think they either need to make them non-canon and just go along with it because none of them have anything to do with each other. Either go that route or remake them all where they actually all fit together. In some context.
How would that make sense, though?
How indeed. And thus the current situation is flawed.
I need to stop doing this moves in corners.
Yeah, you probably should.
Oh, Wazara left.
Yeah, he does that after a certain amount of health.
I don't see what benefit they could get at all from remaking all of the games and changing their stories. I mean, they're all in such different time periods. All they'd be doing would be really changing a couple things here and there. Where, like...
Well, at least it would make sense.
I don't think it makes too little sense as it is. Just
Really?
requires a bit of the stretch of the imagination.
A
I mean,
large
it's
stretch.
understandable.
Perhaps yours, perhaps.
Over the time that, you know, the events of The Legend of Zelda could have taken place, the history could have changed, been forgotten, been remembered differently. So people could have forgotten details like...
Except for in quite a few of the games you travel back to the past, so no, they couldn't.
How many games do you travel to the past?
Ocarina of Time... Majora's Mask, don't you?
In Majora's Mask, it's mostly like a day apart.
Well, whatever.
The entire of the game takes...
A Link
place
to
in-
the Past, A Link Between Worlds, there are quite a few that are...
Is A Link Between Worlds really... time?
Isn't it?
I mean...
Do you not go back or any alteration of time in that game?
It would probably be about the same as it is in,
All I'm saying is if there was a flying city in the sky where all of this came from, I'm sure someone would have remembered it. Unless these people are too stupid to look up, which I guess if you're going to follow Majora's Mask, they kind of are.
Well, they were just being complacent.
So I don't think they're all that stupid.
Where's
I
Wazaro?
Could be wrong.
We gotta go fight him. It's our current objective.
Well, my current objective is to kill this thing.